All right, let's get right into it. It's been another really, really busy day, and here I am to record. So, like, comment, subscribe, butt fuck my cock. Visit patreon.com/Ryan Leone. Extra content, dick shots. So what? All right, I'll even take my gum out, my Nicorette gum, because I'm trying to quit smoking so I don't die from this whatever is out there. So, where did we leave off last time? I got a dirty drug test for federal probation, and I had broken up with Kareena. So basically, my PO had told me that I had a week to prove that I was actually on that I had gotten a shot of Dilaudid and one Percocet at the hospital, and I had to go to the hospital and actually get records. So I mean that's the reason that I had done that to begin with, so that I'd be able to do it. But he wanted me to go get physical records, and I had a week to do that. It was a couple days before my 32nd birthday. It was my 32nd birthday. And, I had just broken up with Kareena, so I wanted a party. Now, one of my friends, basically just a scumbag. What should we call him? Not going to use his real name. Um, let's call him Sam. So I had a friend named Sam who is basically one of the biggest pieces of shit I know, straight up crackhead dope fiend. And he had gone out and he had met this girl at a bar and he knocked her up. First time that they had sex, he ended up getting her pregnant. And she had it. He didn't realize that her parents were billionaires, not millionaires. Her parents were straight up billionaires. And she was like a straight up drug addict herself. So he's one of those guys. I don't know if you have friends like this. He's a really bad drug addict, but he's a phenomenal, phenomenal actor. He is well, I was going to say Robert Downey Jr., but Robert Downey Jr. actually was a crackhead at one point. Um, I don't know who's a good example of this, but he's the Matt Damon of crackheads. He acts super wholesome. Like all the parents always love him. And then he's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll have your daughter back at 8. And then he's like, here, hit this crack. Let's butt fuck. And then he drops her off and she's all bug-eyed. The parents want to kill him. But they always think that he's like a super decent guy. He's kind of like Ted Bundy, but he doesn't kill girls. He's just a crackhead and has a lot of unprotected anal sex. So Sam, he had a kid with this girl, and then she ended up dying. She died of a drug overdose. And her billionaire parents ended up giving my friend Sam, like, I forget what it was something ridiculous. It was like $30 million or something after she died. They're like, you've been such a good, father to our grandson that we're just going to give you 30 mil. And Sam was like, that's cool. I won't use it on crack. Swear to God. They're like, oh, no, yeah, we didn't think you would. He's like, yeah, I wouldn't. And then he spent like 10 million of it on crack. No, I mean, he bought a nice house in an area in Santa Barbara called Rincon, which is like a very world famous surfing place, surfing spot. It's right on the beach, and they have these amazing houses. So we had a house there. This house was probably like, I don't know, $12 million or something. And it was like all glass on the back. You open these big sliding doors, and you're literally on the beach. And he called me because I was all heartbroken because I thought Kareena cheated on me. Even if she hadn't cheated on me, it was just like I was at that point where, like, I'm not even going to try the quote. What is it? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Yeah, I think I said it right. Bush fucked it up. I think I said it right. But I'm like the kind of guy where like I'll give a girl the benefit of the doubt the first time, but when it comes to the second time, I'm good. And she had, that was like, it wasn't just the time at rehab where she was like flirting with the intake guy. Like another time we went to go get a tattoo. She's like, I want to get your name tattooed on my pinky. I was like, honey, that's such an original idea. Let's do it. And we ended up going to this tattoo shop, and she saw the guy and she's like, oh, you're in trouble. I want that guy to tattoo on me. And she sashayed up to him, and she's like, "Hey, will you tattoo me on my pinky?" And he's like, "I specialize in pinky tattoos." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And she had like a bottle of Southern Comfort in her purse, and I just grabbed it, and it was like some old like pirate fucking bottle fight. I like pulled it out. I was like, "What the fuck?" And I just smashed it against the wall, and the whiskey went all over like his tattoo, like pictures of like tattoos that they had done at the shop. Needless to say, I got kicked out. She didn't. And I ended up like taking an Uber back to the hotel, and she showed up like 10 minutes later. She was right behind me in another Uber. She's like, "I'm sorry." And we made this big scene outside the hotel. Anyway, that was one of like many examples. So when she got drunk, she would do things to try to make me mad on purpose. And I'm already a jealous, insecure fuck anyway. Probably because my wiener's just enormous. It's so big that I'm like self-conscious about it. Just like, whoa, this thing's huge. I'm insecure now. When all my friends have just little wieners and I have some big old whammer. No, I'm just an insecure guy without a girl trying to make me jealous. And I swear I was so like, I think I talked about this in the last video. I was such an insecure psychopath when I was younger for no reason, like completely baseless paranoia, where, if I had a girlfriend and she like made eye contact with another dude, I'd be like, "You sucked his dick. I'm breaking up with you." She's like, "What are you talking about?" I just looked. Yep, you sucked his dick with your mouth. I'm out of here. So I think that like in the later years, I dated a few girls that were, especially my ex-wife, that were like straight up bona fide whores. And I think that, and I'm not saying that about Kareena, but she certainly like made every effort to make me jealous when we were together. And when she's drunk, she's a different person. That's why we'd always call each other dumb drunk sluts, because that's how we are when we drink. I'm the same way, except I don't flirt with tattoo artists. Not that I can remember. Anything's possible. So, I broke up with her, and my friend Sam, the billionaire dope fiend, straight up crackhead, lives in this like multi-million-dollar beach house, still wears like plaid shorts that he gets at like the 99-cent store, the spot where the essay shop, wears the wife beater, has like the shittiest tattoos. I'm like, "Dude, don't you have millions of dollars? Can't you get better tattoos?" He's like, "Yeah, but I asked him to do it shitty like this on purpose." Street cred. I was like, "Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, why look rich? That's whack." I wouldn't want to look like I had millions of dollars. That's stupid. Fuck yeah. You look like a dirtbag. It's like, exactly. And he had like bad teeth, like, like missing teeth from like years of taking his crack addiction like super seriously. And he's one of these guys that was not wealthy, had sex with a really wealthy girl, became wealthy overnight. Then she died and her parents left him all the money, and he like felt uncomfortable being rich, even though he drove like a nice car. What kind of car did he have? He had like a brand new Range Rover. He was like leasing one or something. I don't even remember. He always had different cars, but he had this really nice beach house. So when Kareena and I broke up, he called me and he's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "I'm heartbroken." He's like, "Listen, bro, I got you. I know exactly what we can do to make you forget about that bitch." I was like, "Yeah, what's that?" It's like, "We'll rent out the strip club. I'll buy us $600 worth of crack. We'll smoke it. Guaranteed you won't remember her anymore after we're high." He talked like that. I was like, "What a creep." I was like, "I'm down. Let's go." So he ends up getting me. And, I know that I'm probably going to get drug tested again. After I go to the hospital, prove that, I actually had the Dilaudid and Percocet. Probably going to get drug tested again, but I'm going to buy one of those, detox drinks that masks your pee. That had worked for me before. It cost like $60, but at least I knew it worked. As long as you're clean for a couple days before you use it, drink it once, then you fill the bottle up with the exact same amount of water. It's very important because it's the pH balanced, and like they can check out what the pH levels are and see if it's a adulterated masking agent or if the piss has been adulterated. So you have to just drink that drink once, fill it up with water, drink that, take a piss 3 times, you're good for 6 hours. So I knew I was good, but I had to stop using a few days before. So this was like going to be my last hurrah. So he ends up picking me up the night before my birthday. Now, Kareena's calling me nonstop. And like I'll block her, and then she'll get on like one of her friends' phones and like call me like 100 times. I'm so I love you. And I'm like, you don't love me. You do not love me. You love alcohol and you like old dudes. You don't like me. My personality's too bomb. She's like, it's not bomb enough. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Just click. And low key, I was a little sad. I did miss her. And she was a lot of fun to party with. And I did have feelings for her. I didn't really understand those feelings at the time, but I would come to later. And I did miss her, but I'm pretty stubborn when I break up with somebody, which I've only broken up with like 2 people in my life. That one girl at the psych ward, this girl, and kind of my ex-wife, and then Casey for the second time. But that was only honestly because she broke up with me the first time, and I just was like, if dating's a baseball card, got to get those stats up. So, so I was like actually on a breakup like roll. I had like breakup momentum. So my friend Sam picks me up, and the first thing we do is we go to this like crack dealer's house, and it's in Santa Barbara. It's on the east side. This guy is super cliche crackhead, house looks like he just moved in. There's boxes everywhere. The only thing on his table is like a pack of playing cards. And then there's just Brillo pads everywhere. And Sam's like, this place is pretty dope, huh? I was like, yeah, bro. This place is super dope. What's up, man? And his dealer's like already been like up for a few days on some run, and he's just like looking at me. He's so spooked out by me. I was like, hey, I'm Ryan. I'm a cop. He's like, oh. Sam's like, he's not a cop. That dude is my friend Ryan. He's a clown, man. He's just fucking around. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, what's up? I'm Bobby. I sell crack. I was like, hey, Bobby. I guess Sam's buying it. Sam's just like, here, get me a cookie. So we get like $600 worth of crack, which is also known as a cookie. They give cutesy names to crack weight. And we start smoking there. And we're smoking tough. Now, we're about to go to the strip club. Kareena starts calling me from, another number. It's probably like 11 o'clock at night. So you can't drink alcohol at the strip club. So one of the reasons why we're at this house is to get drunk, to smoke crack, and then show up at the strip club that he's going to like rent out for, I forget what it was, like 2 or 3 hours. And we'd already be drunk and on crack by the time we got there. Pretty good plan. I mean, I didn't come up with it. That was Sam. This is what his like Tuesdays look like. His weekends were way crazier. But he's like, oh, it's Tuesday. Let's rent out the strip club and smoke a cookie or crack. It's like, okay. So we're smoking, we're drinking, and Kareena keeps calling me. I finally pick up, and she's like, I need to talk to you. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. And she's like, you need to hear me. I was like, nope. Hang up. So now I'm drunk. I'm all booyah. That's what we call crack. Booyah. It's like, kind of sounds like French and artsy. Like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm smoking crack. That sound like a loser. But imagine if someone calls you and they're like, hey, what are you doing? You're like, just looking at art mags, smoking booyah. Oh yeah, rad, brother. Let me come over. Sounds different, right? And that's what we call it, booyah. So we smoke booyah all night. End up going to this strip club. Now, he didn't rent it for the whole night. It was, like I said, it was like 2 or 3 hours, and you couldn't drink at this place. So now we're there. It's really loud. I keep getting blown up. I can feel a little vibration in my, my pocket. I'm getting lap dances. Everything's chilly. And it's just about to be midnight. So I'm about to turn 32 on the button. I'm sitting there. It's like oh, look, we can get like realistic. I'm like sitting there. It's like a stripper's ass right here. There's one right here. Like some dude's balls right here. Oh. But yeah, so there's this girl's ass, and I'm like the weather guy. I'm like, well, forecast is looking very assish. So like we're partying literally 1 minute to midnight. And Sam's like, booyah blast. I'm like, it, ass just like in between us. Hands me the tube. I go to hit it, go to blow it out. I'm literally blowing out a cloud, and my phone just keeps vibrating, vibrating, vibrating. Pick it up, and it's a positive pregnancy text message. It's like a photograph from her friend's phone. And I'm just like, and when you smoke crack, booyah. When you take a booyah blast, it's the same as when you shoot coke. You get the it's very like I don't know, it kind of sounds like house music, jungle. So it sounds like jungle. And you're just like, you get stuck and you want to throw up. And that's good. It's a good thing. I'm nauseous and I feel like I'm going to die. This is awesome. That's when you know that it's good. It's awesome when you know you're a loser, when stuff like that's cool to you. You're like, dude, almost died on that one. Good hit, bro. But I look at my phone and I'm tripping out, and I tell Sam, I'm like, oh my God, she's preggers. He's like, dude, don't say lame shit like that. What does that mean? I was like, pregnant. He's like, yeah, don't say preggers at a strip club, bro. He's like sitting there. He has like some velvet fucking tie on. He's like, yeah, don't listen to him. He's wasted. So, I mean, needless to say, this completely kills my night. We end up leaving there and we go to some, I don't know, some college girl's house or something. I don't even know how we wind up at some house, some random house. It's like an after party, but it's just people smoking crack in like nightgowns. It was really weird. Felt like a murder was going to happen. Felt like it felt cultish. Like all like dudes were wearing nightgowns and then girls were too. I don't know. It was some kind of. I guess it was like a slumber party theme party, but it was over. So this was like the lingering guests, and now it was just people smoking crack in the same, weird outfits. So it seemed a little. It was just a weird ambiance. Smoking booyah was just a fucking really weird ambiance. Who talks like that? So the next day, I wake up and it almost felt like, I don't know. It felt like it was all like a bad dream, you know. But I look at my phone and nope, Kareena really sent that. She's pregnant, or at least there was a positive pregnancy test. And my head is just like pulsating, pounding with a hangover. And I didn't have a car at the time, so I was like, and Sam is such a sociopath. He'd smoke crack all night with strippers. He's like sitting cross-legged, like at a chair, like drinking orange juice. He's like, oh, you're up? I have fresh bagels toasted. There's also some handmade waffles. I'm like, don't you feel like shit from smoking rock all night? He's like, oh, no, no, no. No, no, no. I'm used to it, my man. I'm like, man, hope I don't ever get really rich because that's exactly how I'm going to be. I already know. And so I explained to him, I'm like, yeah, she's pregnant. And I need you to give me a ride. She was staying at like one of her girlfriend's houses. So he ends up giving me a ride. He's just in like the best mood ever. It's like listening to AM radio and he's like laughing. He's like, oh, stupid liberals. I was like, dude, give me an Advil or something, man. And he like has like a little Pez dispenser and like pops one out. He's like, there you go. Fucking annoying how happy he was. So he takes me to see Kareena and she's just like, you can tell she's sober, but she's also hungover. She was wasted when she was calling me the night before, and she just kind of looks at me and you can tell she's sad. And I see her, because he drops me off and we're like in some cul-de-sac, and I give her a hug and I look at her and I was like, hey, look, it's probably scary being pregnant, but I'll tell you this, I'm not a piece of shit. And I firmly believe that it's your choice. If you want to have the kid, I'll be as good a dad as I can possibly be. Let me preface that with saying that I'm been a career drug addict, but I'll definitely put in an effort if we have a kid. Doesn't mean we're getting back together, but I'll be as good a dad as I can possibly be. That's option one. Option two, if you want to get an abortion, I'll hold your hand through it. I'll help pay for it, but I'm not going to put pressure on you either way. It's your decision, and I don't want to sway you in either one of those directions. And she was like, "Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it." Now she's just a whole different person sober, and she was being really cool. We ended up walking to Jack in the Box. I had like $7 on me that Sam gave me. It was like crinkled ones that probably came out of a stripper's asshole. And he's like, "Here you go, man. You and your bitch can get some Jack in the Box. I'm out of here." I was like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Horseback riding lessons." And he just like took off. I was like, "What the fuck? Smoking crack all night, gonna go horseback riding? Weird ass dude." So we end up going to Jack in the Box. I buy her breakfast. I buy myself breakfast. I mean, whatever we could afford. Like I said, legitimately, we had like $7 or something. And then we walked miles. I think we walked like probably 10 miles that day from upper state on Santa Barbara to downtown Santa Barbara. And we went to Planned Parenthood. And the whole time that we were walking, we talked about what she was going to do. And she's like, "Well, I don't know, probably not going to have it, considering that you don't like me." I'm like, "It's not that I don't like you, it's that you get wasted and you get sketchy. I can't be with someone like that. I mean, come on. When we got together, you knew I was going back to prison. We were just having fun. You know, you didn't tell me that you were on birth control. I mean, and then we stopped having fun because you started being sketchy. So that's that." She's like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "Well, me too." And so we end up going to Planned Parenthood. I don't remember if we got in that day or not. I don't think that we did. I think we just went and made an appointment. I don't really remember. But what I do remember is after Planned Parenthood, we walked up to my parents' house. Went from Planned Parenthood to my parents' house. Jeez, that's hard to say. And, you know, it's my birthday. And now it's my 32nd birthday. My mom and dad are like, "Where are you? We got Chinese food and we want to eat it with you and we want to give you your present." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I brought her with me to my house and I was like, "Here, hide." So she ended up hiding like down the street, and I was like, "I'll text you, you know, when we're done with dinner, and I'll figure out a way to get you home." She's like, "Okay." And so I went and I had dinner with my parents. She probably waited out there for like 2 hours. I don't even remember what my parents got me that year. But we opened presents, and you know, then I texted Kareena. I was like, "Hey, it is my birthday. Will you fuck me? I mean, I really wasn't planning on walking 10 miles with you hungover. Hello?" And then she texts me back and she's like, "Okay, I'll fuck you. It's your birthday or whatever." So I ended up sneaking her into my parents' house. We had sex. Um, I think we drank. I don't remember. We had to have because I was in the middle of an alcohol run. And now I'm back on Suboxone. You know, I'd gone to Detox for a couple of days, and I made the, you know, I made the transition back to Suboxone. And I remember my mom caught Kareena in my bed the next day, and she wasn't even tripping because it was my birthday. She's like, "I won't tell dad." And I was like, "Thanks, mom." My mom was always cool like that. And so then, you know, we had a series of doctor appointments, and it became the kind of thing where we wanted to know if the amount that we were drinking would affect the fetus, you know, the developing child. Like, we knew that there was fetal alcohol syndrome for babies, but we didn't know how early on in the pregnancy, if you stop drinking, it wouldn't affect the kid. So we didn't really know stuff like that. And there was a lot of conflicting information online. She did quit drinking within like a few days of finding out that she was pregnant. And she didn't really have any withdrawal. She was just able to stop. It was pretty miraculous. I decided to stop as well. I didn't stop right away. Probably stopped about a week after her. I had a taper, you know. I was like, I need a taper because I guess I'm a bitch. I'm just like, I can't just stop. And so I tapered off. You know, I went from like drinking 2/5 down to 1/5, down to like a half fifth, down to beer, down to a couple Four Locos, down to like a glass of wine, all within like a week. And it was uncomfortable and I didn't really feel well. But I mean, I'd only been drinking for, you know, a few months. It's not like I was on some really long run. You know, I just gotten out of prison in the end of March, and now it's like, August. So I hadn't been out that long. And I remember we had to go to the hospital and we had to go to the records department. It took forever to get a physical copy of the report saying that they'd given me a Dilaudid and a Percocet, but I was able to find it. And then I went and I bought one of those detox drinks and I went to probation. And my dad had given me a ride, and during the course of all this, Kareena was kind of like tagging along, and I was going to these different doctor's appointments, and we kind of just started hooking up again, and then we kind of just got back together. And I was like, this doesn't mean I like you. I'm just in it for the sex before I go back to prison, and I might be your kid's dad, so there's that as well. She's like, okay, well, I like you. And then she started being cooler because she was sober. So I was still mad at her, and I was like hurt, and I didn't trust her. So I mean, I didn't really take the relationship very seriously in that period. I don't know. I just felt like I was being a good dude by by being supportive. She still hadn't told me. She still hadn't decided if she wanted to keep the baby or not. It was like we were still in that limbo. And I think what ultimately set her over the edge is her best friend is transgender, and she was like, hey, I can't even have a baby. You should look at it as a blessing. Like a lot of women would love to have a child and they can't. You should look at it as a blessing instead of a curse. And I think that single statement persuaded her into wanting to keep the baby. Also, we had a number of doctors telling us that, when initial fertilization occurs, there's like this protective protein coat on the embryo. And that's the nutrients that the placenta is getting. I don't even know if I'm saying all these terms correctly. I think so. But, when you fertilize an egg, it's like a goose egg. And there's this protein coating that surrounds it. In the first 3 or 4 weeks, I think it is feeding off of that protein. And then eventually, it feeds through the placenta. I think that's correct. I don't know. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So the point is we were like still within that window where the baby was going to be okay, that our drinking wasn't going to affect it. I mean, there's conflicting theories on that, but all the doctors that we had spoken to said that we were okay. And then I was able to go to probation, and I was able to kind of get over on them. Now they knew that I got over. They're like, do you expect us to believe, Mr. Leone, that a doctor would actually give a heroin addict a Percocet? I was like, well, Josh, I am a human being. I mean, just because I'm a junkie doesn't mean I don't have pain like the rest of us. You're expecting me to believe that you had a kidney stone? Well, Josh, I am a human, and just because I'm a junkie, recovering junkie at that, doesn't mean that I don't get kidney stones. Josh is like, you are a fucking con artist. You know that? I was like, a what? I don't even know what that means. I'm in here for conspiracy to distribute heroin, not for being a con artist. And he was mad. They get mad, just like the PO before that, when I'd gone to the doctor and I'd cut my foot open so that I could get a script, to Vicodin so that I could always come up dirty for opiates. They know when you're running game on them, and they get so mad. They get so mad when you outfox them, So he couldn't technically do anything to me because I had proof that I was legally prescribed an opioid, but he could fuck with me. And that's exactly what he did. He's like, okay, all right, you're going to start doing therapy once a week, and you're going to start drug testing once a week. I was like, Josh, let's be reasonable. I don't even have a car. He's like, well, for not having a car, you certainly have a kidney stone. So what the fuck does that mean? He's like, you know what it means. He'd always talk like esoterically like that, where I was like, Doesn't even make sense. What do you mean? He's like, I want you to test once a week here at my office. I'm like, Josh, this is 35-minute drive. I don't have a car. How do you expect me to do that? He's like, well, then you go test in Santa Barbara then. I was like, well, okay. Fuck. So he had me testing at this place, same place that the therapist had tricked the in. She's like, oh, I'm just an intern. Sorry. Sorry that I coerced you into telling me the truth about your case, and now I have to tell your PO, or you can tell him by noon tomorrow. Sorry about that. My mistake. Now I had to go to this place for therapy. I was like, fuck. So I go to this place and I'm like, look, there's no way that I'm going to do therapy with her. There's no way I'm going to do it. And they're like, well, if you don't do it, you're going to get a violation. It's like, there's not another, isn't that a conflict of interest that like we had this kind of problem before? Can't you see, at least appreciate where I'm coming from, that like my therapeutic integrity was compromised to some degree? When they're just like looking at me, they're like the stupidest therapist. They got like, they anyway, they ended up giving me like this lady that was the head of all therapists. She was like a super therapist there. That's not the word for it. What the fuck? She was like the head therapist. Super. She was the super therapist. She had super therapy powers. And she was a fucking bitch and she hated me, you know? And, it was more like going to therapy with like a drill sergeant, like our first therapy session. I like sat down. I was literally like 2 minutes late. It was like supposed to be at 3 o'clock. I was there at like 3:02. It was on the other side of town. I don't even remember where we were staying. I think we were staying in an abandoned house. I had to like take like 4 different buses to get there. I had to run like 6 blocks from the bus station. I'm like doused in sweat, out of breath. I'm a smoker, so I'm like I'm like having a straight up asthma attack when I walk in there, and I'm like, hey, and she's like, ew, can you not sweat on my desk, and can you not be late? Thank you very much. Sit down. Sit down. I was like, okay. I sit down and she's like, no, sit on the floor. I was like, I'm not gonna sit on the floor. She's like, sit on the floor like a dog, because that's what you are. I was like, I'm not gonna sit on the floor like I'm not doing that. She's like, are you being defiant? You're being defiant right now. I'm gonna tell your PO that you're not gonna sit on the floor and you're not gonna bark like a dog and you're being defiant. You're fucking like, she didn't say the F word, but she was talking like that. She really wanted me to sit on the floor like a dog. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna call my PO right now. What the fuck is this? Sit on the floor. She's like, I want to see how inflexible you are. I was like, okay, all right. Slide the chair out of the way and I sit on the floor. But she's like, I just wanted to see if I could get you to do that. All smug and shit. I was like, are you serious? Now, honestly, I think that she was trying to provoke me. I think that they had told her that I was difficult. Well, I mean, I'd already made such a big deal when the intern that worked for her had like been like, you can tell me anything, and I'm sworn by confidentiality laws. I can't tell anybody unless you're a harm to yourself or others what you tell me. I was like, okay, great. Whew, I want to get something off my chest. I was arrested yesterday for pimping and pandering. I'm looking at 3 years mandatory minimum. She's like, oh boy, it's a lot. That's a lot. That's a big load to be carrying around. I was like, yeah. Do you like big loads? No, I didn't say that. And then as soon as I left, she called me, and you know the rest of the story. Oh, I'm actually an intern, and you got to tell him by noon tomorrow, or and it ended up fucking me. I mean, honestly, if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have had to go do my third term, because what would have happened is I would have pushed the case, pushed the case, pushed the case. There would have been no leverage because I wasn't on federal probation. We would have fought it, pushed it so far away from the actual date of the incident that the district attorney would get sick of the case, just continuing it. And I mean, you can do that as many times as you want if you have a paid attorney. And then I would have been off federal probation because we would have pushed it that far. And then eventually, I'd have my attorney be like, okay, listen, he'll sign to supervising a protecting a prostitute. I think it's called supervising a prostitute, which is a misdemeanor, and you get probation. I wouldn't have gone to prison. But no, I had to call my federal PO. I had to tell him what I did. I was like, I got busted for pimping. How do you think that sounds to a federal PO? I've been out 3 weeks. I got caught pimping, but I swear to God, I didn't do it, bro. It's wild. I mean, fuck. I mean, that must just sounded nuts to him. So I think she was trying to piss me off, get a reaction out of me, and see if I would like go off on her. But I kind of just was like, okay, I'll do, I'll do whatever you say. So, I was trying to be as compliant as possible. I was being very polite, listening to her. And at the end of the session, I said, how did I do? She said, incredible. I was trying to push your buttons, and I thought you were going to be a complete D head, and you weren't at all. I was like, well, that's because I'm dickless. And she's like, what? I was like, it's because I'm dickless. And she's like, oh, I get it. Oh, that's so funny. So clever. No, you did fine. You did great. So I'm like, so you're going to tell the probation department that I did good? She's like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You did great. Have a nice day. I was like, all right, cool. So I leave, and right around this time period, I think I might have talked about it in the last video. Kareena and I had found a abandoned house, literally a block from her place, 1 block from her parents' house, and I wasn't having her spend the night with me. I was sleeping there by myself, which was really creepy. It was a creepy ass spot to be at by myself, at like this big abandoned house. And like I was always on alert. Sometimes I would like jerk off, and like that's the only time that I had my guard down. And like I'd like finish, and I'd like look up, and there would be like a car parked in the driveway, and I'd be like, fuck, and I just take off. It was really creepy. um where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so she didn't stay there with me. So a lot of that time I was just kind of like home. I was literally homeless, like living in abandoned houses by myself. And we would hang out in the day because your parents would work. I'd stay at the abandoned house, then I'd come over around like 6 or 7 in the morning. I'd always get up before the construction workers that were working on that house would get up. I go to her house, shower. She'd make me breakfast. We'd have sex. We'd watch like Maury, you know, um, and that was pretty much our life. So I get a call a few days after my first therapy appointment, and it's my PO, Josh. Josh is like, Mr. Leone. I was like, what's up, Josh? He's like, you need to come in immediately. I was like, why? And he's like, we need to talk about the violation you're about to get. I was like, violation? I was like, dude, you just called me last week telling me I got a dirty. I proved that I wasn't dirty. I've been going and getting clean tests. What am I getting violated for? He's like, non-compliance in therapy, if that's what. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, your therapist told us that you were late and you were uncooperative, and you're the hardest patient that she's ever had to deal with in all of her 3 years of being a therapist. Just like, all right. So I'm getting violated? He's like, I didn't say that, did I? I'm like, you literally just said that you were violating me. So I said, we're going to talk about your violation. I was like, what? Okay. When do I have to be there? He's like, you have to be in my office at 5:30 a.m. I'm like, Josh, I don't have a car. How am I going to get there? The buses don't even run out there that time. He's like, I don't care. If you're not here at 5:30 a.m., you're going to be in jail. I was like, oh. And we will get into what happens next in the next episode of the Pimping and Pandering Chronicles. I just want to get something out today. It's been now that I'm editing the book, it's like, fuck, and I've also been getting into art just to try to like not go crazy in the quarantine thing. I've quit news. I'm not watching news anymore. Well, I never was. I don't have a TV, but I don't read news, and I don't watch clips or any of that. I don't even care, unless the world's like on fire. That's when I'll know that like something's off. But it was just bumming me out every time I'd like, click on like an app, and it would be like 78,000 dead today. I'm like, fuck. That's like how I'd be starting my day, like sipping coffee. All right, well, let's see the next one. It's like local businesses arrested for breaking social distance. I'm like, fuck. And it was just bumming me out. So I started doing art. And I'd way rather live in like the art and just editing my book world and like what's going on out there, because it's it's fucking crazy. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out patreon.com/Ryan Leone. I appreciate you guys. Palabra.